What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video now. Man, there's more significance to the word back now than there's ever been. We're going to talk about the fractures in time. This is a new patch that is coming, patch 10.1.5. We have a release date, July 11th, for this patch. I'm just going to highlight the major features that are coming. There's going to be a mega dungeon, new Augmentation Evoker, time rifts, all the stuff that's right here. We're going to talk about it all real quick here. So let's dive right in first to the Augmentation Evoker. And this is a new spec for the Evoker, which is really great. It is a damage dealer, but it has a twist. It's basically a pure support class with really big abilities, like Even Might being its main sort of buff that you're giving to other players. Increases the 4 nearby allies' primary stat by 14%, causes them to deal more damage. There's a whole bunch of other buffs. There's a defensive sort of healing buff. You can evoke Paradox for you and a friendly healer, allowing casting while moving and increasing their range, which is kind of interesting. There is, again, this is your main kind of cooldown right here, Breath of Aeons. You fly over a bunch of enemies and you debuff them, and then your allies deal more damage to that enemy, which is kind of cool. This is a tank external that you have as well as a DPS class. So lots of really cool things going on with the Evoker. It is truly Blizzard's first attempt, I would say, at like a support class, like a bard type class, except that you're actually going to be doing a decent amount of damage as well. And I think we're going to have to see how it kind of all plays out. I was hearing rumors that people were taking like 10 of these into a raid on the PTR, so hopefully that doesn't continue, because that's obviously pretty ridiculous. We don't want to have that happen. But we'll see what Blizzard does in the future with more, like if this goes off really well, maybe we'll see more support classes in the future or more hybrid kind of ideas in the future. For example, like a tank shaman, cough cough. That would be a really, really fun spec to get into. But that's the first main thing that we're going to have in the Fractures of Time patch, is a new specialization for Augmentation Evoker. All right, next up here is the big mega dungeon that is coming, the Dawn of the Infinite, and it's right here. Let me just see if I can find it here. Yeah, Dawn of the Infinite right here. It's got 8 bosses. Very, very cool, and it's down here in the temporal conflux, sorry. You just come up here, and we're going to actually walk out. I'm going to show you it. It is gorgeous, guys. This dungeon looks so incredible. First of all, the background screenshot is just so good. But it looks really, really good. It has 8 different dungeons. It has a pretty cool story where we follow kind of Chromie. And I'm not going to show you everything, obviously, but I watched some people doing the dungeon, and it looks really, really neat. It just has an awesome vibe that doesn't exist in the game right now. Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. So these are there are 8 bosses in here. They don't they did update the loot. They finally updated the loot, so there's going to be some interesting loot in here. It's not totally updated yet. We're going to have to see. The item level of the loot starts at what it looks like 437 for a base mythic level that you're doing. Let's just do all classes really quick. Looks like there's some cool weapons in here. Let's try and look at trinkets, if there are any, because there were some interesting trinkets that people were looking at. There's one, Accelerated Sandglass. I'm going to take a look at these trinkets, I think, in a different video maybe, because it'll just take too long. But just know there is a really big dungeon coming. There's some cool loot in here. You do have to fight Morchi, which is like Chromie's like evil half. There's some cool stuff going on here. And Chronoloord Deos, which is from Oldemon. He's the end boss in Oldemon. He comes back, and hopefully we actually kill him this time. So very, very cool mega dungeon. You're going to try it on mythic difficulty. Once we've done it on mythic difficulty for the patch, then they're going to transition it into a mythic plus, probably for like season 3 or something, right? A couple more news articles on this dungeon as well. People have discovered divergent gear stats on some of the gear that's there. So there's new like affixes on the gear called Time Strike, Demon Bane, and Scourge Bane. New stats on the gear. So they don't really know what they do yet, but you can see right here's an example: Crit, Mastery, and Demon Bane. What people are thinking it does is Time Strike does extra damage to like time minions that are like manipulate time. Demon ones do more damage to demons, and then Scourge do more damage to undead. But we're gonna have to wait and see kind of what happens with this. We're in the early stages. This news article came out like yesterday. So yeah, like Time Strike has a 10% chance to proc something. I love these articles. So we're not really sure what that does, but we're going to have to wait and see on that. Also, there is a new cutting-edge achievement that has been revealed. So Blizzard has added a new achievement for Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon, including a cutting-edge-esque achievement to defeat all bosses before the next raid tier release, and one immortal one to complete the dungeon without any deaths, which is very cool. We haven't seen an achievement like that one in particular without any deaths. We've never seen that before. That's a really cool idea, and I hope that Blizzard starts to incorporate more of these like challenges into dungeons, so that once we're done doing the dungeons like a million times and getting our loot, we can go back and look at trying to do these dungeons as like a challenge, like have a whole bunch of challenges that have these achievements and maybe some really cool cosmetic rewards or something. That would be really cool. So hopefully Blizzard jumps on that. But there you go. There is the new Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon. There's some really cool gear, some weapons with some effects. I'll go over some of the gear in another video. Let's move on to the next section here. All right, next let's talk about the time rifts that are coming. These are just new public events that are going to be spawning in the world. Apparently, they're supposed to spawn at the top of every hour, I believe, in this area, the Tierhold Reservoir, or down in the Temporal Conflux. I think it's probably down in the Temporal Conflux, to be honest. If you go over here, it's right. It'll be here in a second. I have to go through a million different. There we go, time rift. So it says the Bronze Dragonflight in fending off invaders from other timelines. Keep an eye on your map. Time rifts appear periodically in Tierhold Reservoir east of Valdrakken. So I'm standing there right now. It's the top of the hour, but it's not happening. But it's fine. This is the outdoor world event for 10.1.5, right? We've got the Mega Dungeon coming. We've got the Augmentation Evoker. There's going to be class changes in a second. This is the open world event. There are rewards that come from this as well, and they've already seen some of them. So there's an example here of some interesting trinkets. They start at item level 402, it looks like, and they're going to go up the veteran tree. They've got like auto attack procs and harmful spells abilities have a chance to manifest fell. That does damage, healing spells, allowing your heals to shield a target for 58,000. That sounds kind of broken to me. So we're gonna have to see how good these are. But some interesting trinkets coming from the outdoor world events. It's just more content to do, you know, kind of like the Firak assaults that came in with the patch that we're on right now. Really good for alts, really good for catching up on gear. And some fun and interesting kind of trinkets to go along with it. There is some cosmetic stuff with it as well. I don't know all the details on that, but that's the open world event. It's going to be the time rifts, so go check those out as well. Real quick, guys, I forgot to mention for the time rifts, here are some of the actual rewards that are going to be available for the time rifts if you go and do them, besides getting extra alt catch-up gear like I talked about. There's a bunch of mounts. So there's a Fellstorm Dragon, there's a Gold Toad Albatross, there's the Juggernaut Perfected, there's the Ravenous Black Griffin, the Scourge-bound Frostbrood Vanquisher, the Sulphur Hound, and then the White Warwolf. Some people were complaining in the comments down here that these models looks a little bit old, but hey, you know what? It's more cosmetics, it's more mounts to go pick up. I think these are going to be cool, and it's more reasons to go do the new time events that are happening, the time rifts, sorry, which I think, you know, this is good because it appeals to players who probably want to go and collect items anyway, who aren't interested in doing Mythic Plus or raiding. It gives them goals to shoot for and reasons to go farm this content. So very, very good. More rewards for the time rifts. All right, here's the last like major big section that's coming with patch 10.1.5. Again, we've had the Augmentation Evoker, the Mega Dungeon, the outdoor time rift events. Now we're going to talk about the class changes and just general patch notes. There's a huge amount of patch notes coming with this patch. Like, it's ridiculously long. So I'm just going to highlight some of the big things for you. First and foremost, we've already known this, but the primordial stones that deal damage are going down by 40%. To increase gearing options for players. So that's a pretty massive deal for healers and tanks in particular who relied on this damage. So that's just kind of a damage loss. They have buffed certain classes that they felt relied on the stones heavily. So it might not be that big of a deal. If you're one of those classes that you relied on the stones, you're definitely getting a buff. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. They're continuing on with massive class overhauls and changes. Balance Druid is getting another sort of huge pass. Buffs to a lot of their stuff. Guardian Druid getting some buffs and changes. A lot of talent points getting moved around as well. Evokers, obviously a new Augmentation Evoker is here. This is the biggest one, though, I would say, is that the mages are getting a massive overhaul. There's an entire thread dedicated to it. I'll link the patch notes down below in the video. You can check them out. But they're getting a buff to all their ability damage because they're removing Rune of Power. Rune of Power and Meteor are removed. So mages no longer have to play around Rune of Power anymore, which is a big buff, honestly, to all mages, for sure. Because the really, like, the best mages in the world, like Fired Up or something, can play around it perfectly. But then there's sort of your average player that where the experience of trying to play around a Rune of Power is miserable. So they're giving you 15% more bonus damage to everything, getting rid of Rune of Power and Meteor. There's a whole bunch of new talents. All three of the specs have been changed in big ways. In particular, how you interact with your major cooldowns, like Arcane Surge and Combustion, and Icy Veins. They're all kind of changing. They're getting modified. There's new talents that are getting put in there. I'm not going to go over all of it because I did talk about this in my mage video, but this is a big change that's happening. Really big overhaul for mages. The other biggest one that's coming is for Holy Paladin. So Holy Paladin is essentially getting a massive overhaul to their spec talent tree. So they're all of the abilities that are there that didn't synergize very well together now synergize really well together. So things like Hand of Tyr and Tyr's Deliverance is what I meant. Tyr's Deliverance and then Barrier of Faith. Those now synergize with Holy Shock. Your Glimmer of Light healing has gone up like a ton, and the damage has gone up a ton. Glimmer of Light is now a central piece of the Holy Paladin kit. Instead of being on the bottom capstone, it's actually just up with it's at the very top, basically. I'm just going to go to it really quickly here. Let me just show you rather than talking about it like a crazy person. Oh, we're not on live. Let's go here. So here you go. You can see Holy Shock is here. Glimmer of Light's been moved up. Glimmer of Light used to be down here. There's a new talent called Daybreak. I went over this in my Paladin video, so I'm not going to go too crazy about this. But the best thing about this really is that there's synergies now with things like Tyr's Deliverance, with Barrier of Faith if you want to. There's a new talent here called Reclamation. And then Glimmer's a more central piece of your kit. Holy Shock's cooldown's a little bit different. There's new big cooldowns like Hand of Divinity, which empowers your next two Holy Lights to cast instantly and do a bunch of extra healing. So I think that overall, Holy Paladin is going to be much better. I mean, they're a good healer right now. They're some of the top Mythic Plus healers right now. But like the synergy for your average player, the synergies are going to be a lot better. It's going to make a lot more sense, and you're going to have more build options, which is really a great thing for Holy Paladin. So I'm excited about that a lot. That's going to be really big. There are some huge Warlock changes at the bottom as well. I got into the Enhancement Shaman changes already. I already covered that. Big Warlock changes here coming. I'm not going to cover them, but there's just some massive changes coming for a lot of talents getting moved around, buffed and nerfed, lots of big things like that. And then one of the biggest things they're doing as well is a healing change across the board for like off spec. So for example, if we go up to Druid here, if we get to like Feral Druid, maximum mana is going up for like every spec that isn't a healer. So we're going up to healer levels of mana now. So, and then your mana regeneration is going up. Your cost of your healing spells is going down for the most part. And what they're doing is making it so that your healing spells are more readily available for the off-spec healers, in particular like Druid, Priest, and Shaman, right? Ancestral Guidance from Shaman, Nature's Vigil from Druid, and Vampiric Embrace from Priest. Those three abilities are getting nerfed, but all the other healing is going up. So it's kind of a big change to talk about, but they're trying to make sure that these abilities aren't just ridiculously powerful. So Nature's Vigil, for example, the duration's getting cut in half. We're reducing the effectiveness of group healing from DPS, damage to healing conversion sources. The abilities affected are Vamp Embrace, Nature's Vigil, and Ancestral Guidance. We want hybrid DPS to be able to contribute healing to the group, but these spells have become too powerful, and they temporarily alleviate a healer's role without interrupting the DPS rotation. So they're nerfing the duration of Nature's Vigil. Ancestral Guidance is having its healing only proc off of single target abilities, and Vampiric Embrace had its duration reduced, I think, to 12 seconds from 15. So they're basically trying to say, like, on live, you could pop one of these abilities and literally the healer doesn't have to be there because you're pumping so much damage and it converts directly into healing. It was way too strong. So they're nerfing those, and then they're buffing all the regular healing. So if you want to be a true hybrid class and truly heal your allies, you're going to have to actually spend GCDs healing them rather than just dealing damage to do healing. Okay? That is the bulk of the class changes. Again, look at how big this is. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of other stuff going on here as well, but This is kind of the bulk of what is going on. There's some stuff to professions. There's some dungeons and raid stuff for old school dungeons and raids, I believe. And then the final piece that's coming is the Kalimdor Cup is coming back, and I think it's right here. I don't know if they have it right now. I forget where it was. Warlock classes expansion, new races. There's a Kalimdor Cup coming, and this is really cool. They're basically expanding dragon riding into the rest of the world. So it doesn't, I believe if you go to Valdrakken and you talk to the lady that's right here, I'm going to go there right now. I'll just show you. Right, guys, so we're back. So right here, there's a holiday enthusiast in Valdrakken. This guy, I believe, from what I understand, will have a quest that will give you the Kalimdor Cup. I wonder if it's on the calendar. Let's look really quickly. Midsummer Fire Festival. I don't see it here. I don't think this launches until June 11th, right? So presumably it would pop up here. I might have missed it, but I don't think it's here right now. Point is, there's going to be a dragon riding race that takes place across the entire continent of Kalimdor. There's going to be multiple races all over the place in Kalimdor. Races that go forwards and backwards. Like there's a regular and then like an advanced speed one and then like a reverse speed one, just like Mario Kart. So that'll be really cool. You can go into the old world and just do races if you want to. This is actually incredibly cool in my opinion. So they're expanding dragon riding into the open, you know, the rest of the world. You can't just dragon ride in Kalimdor, but you can do the races. So you can't just like get on your mount and fly around, but you can do the races, and there's going to be a whole bunch of them all over the place. So that's another kind of big feature coming in 10.1.5 if you want to just go have fun doing the races. Okay, that's it for the major features coming in 10.1.5. Obviously, Augmentation Evoker, huge. Really, really cool that that's coming. The Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon, it's looking very cool as well. I think it's going to be an awesome dungeon with some really cool loot. We're going to try it on Mythic first, then it'll turn into a Mythic Plus dungeon, probably in Season 3. There's going to be the new Time Rift events. That's the open world stuff, just like the Fire Rack Assaults. More gear, more cosmetics to get there. There are massive, comprehensive class changes, complete rework to mages, complete rework to Holy Paladin. Warlock's getting massive changes as well. There's a huge rework to the way that healing works for off-spec DPS characters. There's a lot going on in there. If you want to see the full patch notes, I've got them linked down below. But that's it for 10.1.5, guys. I think it's going to be really great. Honestly, I think it's going to be awesome. We're still going to be in the same season that we're in right now in terms of Mythic Plus and raiding. But there's going to be lots of new stuff to do. In particular, that Mega Dungeon will be the biggest one that we'll want to sink our teeth into. Okay? Thank you guys so much again for watching. Drop a comment down below if you if there's something that I missed that you think should be added, please let me know. Let's start a conversation down there. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much again for watching. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.